everyone, and welcome to Visionary Voices, Optimum Healthcare IT's conversational thought leadership podcast that hosts digital and technology healthcare leaders to discuss IT innovation and transformation. I'm your host, Larry Kaiser, Chief Marketing Officer at Optimum Healthcare IT. In this episode, I'll be speaking with Visionary Chief Digital and Information Officer, Craig Richardville. We'll be talking about the current and future positioning of the CIO role in healthcare organizations. Craig is an award-winning CIO who has held leadership positions at several health systems, including Intermountain, SCL Health, Atrium Health, and ProMedica. Craig, welcome to the show today.
Larry, thank you. Good to see you.
You as well. So we're going to start off today with a fun segment that we like to call Bandwidth Banter. It's our fun take on icebreakers, for IT professionals such as yourself. So I know you and I talked a little bit, and I think I have some two really exciting questions to ask you. So first, what was the last concert that you attended? 'Cause I know you attend a lot of concerts.
I do. I enjoy getting out and about, and concerts is one of the things that I do enjoy. The last one that I saw was the Dave Matthews Band at Fiddler's Green here in Denver, Colorado. And recently they were just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan. There was a period of time in the late '90s into the early 2000s where I think I saw him about 12 years in a row. So I'm a big fan. So that's great to hear. I know your musical interest and my musical interest tend to overlap a little bit, but that must have been a really fun show.
It
Now, my
was.
second question is probably a little bit more controversial. I have heard both sides of the aisle on this one, so I'm going to get your take on it. Is healthcare one word or two words?
Great question. Healthcare is one word with two meanings, is how I would say it. I've always divided healthcare into the both aspects of it, health and care. And I think what you found is historically healthcare has focused mostly on the care component. You get sick, we fix you. And what you've seen in the last, 5 years, maybe even as much as a decade, but certainly every year, progressing more toward the health side, keeping people healthier and well and more preventive and early diagnosis of conditions. So it is one word, but you're seeing a transition of both health and care coming together.
Yeah, that's how I look at it, and so I appreciate your vision on that. I agree with you said 100% there. So, well, thanks for participating in our bandwidth banter. So let's
Yeah.
let's kind of dive into the conversation today. Now that our audience has gotten to know you a little bit more, so I want to kick off the discussion today talking about the ever expanding role of the CIO. I think it's pretty safe to say that the role has expanded to include a ton of new responsibilities, and that was even before AI took off in healthcare. So, how does a successful CIO balance all the responsibilities they had while also adding all the responsibilities that are being given to them now and align all of that with enterprise goals?
Yeah, Larry, that's a great question, and you're right. The things that previously a CIO's role has is cumulative. It keeps on growing. So at the beginning, one could say it was more about expense reduction, and then we evolved into operational efficiencies. And in the last 5 years, really focusing on strategy. It is a differentiator for many health systems, and to be able to contribute back to the communities and the populations that we serve. And that's where the things that you see with data and analytics and AI and a lot of the newer things that really can separate you from others. In terms of kind of aligning with the enterprise goals, today is no different than before. So we always have been focused on the goals. It's that the expansion of the amount of goals that we can impact has grown. And the way that I would say that many of us are, in order to be successful, is you got to kind of share the wealth. You're no longer the single point of contact. You have to develop a team that not only one has the expertise to do the things that have been done in the past, but to be able to grow with some of the newer and advanced technologies that are coming our way. So with that building of the team, that then allows you to be able to take yourself and move you away from being what one might consider a subject matter expert and move you into more of like a general manager or a coaching role. You're here to put the right people in the right positions allow them to excel, do things that you couldn't have done yourself individually. I think also on the kind of aligned with that is many of your peers within the company, they don't give themselves enough credit for how much they do know about technology and how much they use it in their personal lives and how easy that can be translatable from personal into the professional side. So continue to educate and to allow them to be able to share the ideas and thoughts that they've been able to discover. Then I would say lastly is just relationships externally, building good, strong partnerships with people who can bring things to you, either as an early adopter or maybe even from the innovation side, right, straight from the beginning. But either way, I think the combination of your team, your peer group, and the great partners that you bring into the system allow you to be able to do so.
Very interesting. So, what would you say, I guess, from a time frame perspective, when did this role start expanding to just being the chief information officer into, say, chief digital officer, which I know is included kind of in your role in your last role over at Intermountain?
Yeah, it's you're seeing it all across the map. So some people use the CIO role as the CIO role, and they allow the data, the analytics, the AI, all the newer components that we are given responsibility for grow within that title. You have others that have thrown the D in there, and in my last two organizations, we did have the D. So it was digital and information officer, information and digital officer, still the same responsibilities, just that they added that character to make it clear, because of some organizations they had analytics and data separate from the CIO, separate from the digital, um, uh, in many cases the marketing side of things. So bringing all that together, now what you're seeing, I think, is a consolidation. So you're seeing the CIO going to the CDIO, and now the CDO has inherent responsibilities that a typical CIO would have. Plus, it's clear that they have the digital side as well. So you're seeing it kind of flourishing together, regardless of what the title is. The combination or embracing the multiple different disciplines together under one leader, I think allows you to gain some of the synergies and be able to leverage back and forth.
Interesting. So, would you say that the role of your basic CIO is maybe extinct at this point? And as we continue to see the evolution of technology in healthcare, that D comes in there and the role will continue to expand?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I just think it depends on how the health system or the company wants to position the titling. In some cases, it may make sense that some of those responsibilities are split, that it might be just too much for one person to manage. And so you might have a digital piece or an analytics piece or a CIO component piece, which is, technology and applications. You might have that be split, and then you may have some organizations that want to pull those together. I think what you will see over time is that, but that time frame, who knows what it will be. It's kind of in some cases similar to how you would look at a chief people officer or a CHRO. In some cases, they modernize the title and they call them CPOs or chief people officers, but they're historically kind of like the chief human resource officer. There's no change in responsibilities and medical records and health information management. So I think it's going to be still kind of gray or blurry for a period of time. But when you look at the responsibilities of what that organization has for that role, that's when you'll be able to define. But they could call it a CIO, CDIO, a CDO, and they're all going to be the exact same responsibilities. And in some cases, they could be different. So you just have to kind of peel it down a layer or two.
Interesting. Well, thanks for that insight there. That's one of with 21 years in this industry now, this to see the evolution has been pretty interesting, as I continue to, visit different uh, conferences and so forth and meet new people. Like the role is always something different, which I find very fascinating. So with that, what pressures are CIOs really feeling right now with the intense and insane rapid technological advancement that's going on in healthcare? And how do you overcome that pressure?
Yeah, I would say the pressure is really on the health system and on the healthcare industry. And then us as senior executives of a health system within the industry. we have our own pressures or our own abilities to maybe prioritize or recommend or bring things to the senior team to allow them to consider. So I don't think the pressure is any different or more focused on the CIO or CDIO or CDO. I think it's really on the healthcare system itself. And then you have a role as a senior executive to bring things to the table that may allow some enhancements or enabling or to provide some relief to some of that pressure. And at the same time, to be able to evaluate, compare that against the other investments that the company would have. So I think when you remove yourself as the title and say you're a senior executive first, that first and foremost allows you to look at the healthcare system, not your specific areas of responsibility. Now you got certain things in your tool belt to bring to nature. And what I would say also is kind of that sharing of the wealth that we mentioned earlier is in order to be able to relieve some of the pressure of the health system, the CIO, CDO, CDIO, our responsibility then is to build great leaders. And leaders do build great leaders and allow them to be able to look deeper onto the data side or on the analytics side or the digital side or the AI side or digital health and to build yourself, surround yourself with those people who have that expertise that can go deep into those areas. Then see how they do align, with the company goals. Then see how you can bring that to the senior team to consider with all the investment opportunities there are out there. Is this one of the ones that would kind of rise toward the top? And you'll end up seeing kind of like a mixture of all that. The transition that has taken place is that we have moved a lot of our investment requests from capital intensive to be a lot more operating. And that adds a little bit of comfort in some areas, but also some discomfort in others. But that is a transition that's happening. Is very little more capital requests that we're making as we move more into software as a service, as infrastructure as a service, and that things are coming more on a very predictable annual basis. And that changes, the investment of a one-time cash infusion from a capital perspective. On the partnership side, I think that's where, there is a big opportunity to to hook yourself up with the right technology companies. Some people like to say, and I've said in the past, that healthcare is a technology industry delivering healthcare. And I think in some facets you could make that argument. But there are people who are purely into technology and they are delivering healthcare services or products. And those are the areas, the companies that you want to partner and kind of hook yourselves at the hips with. And then there's just a tremendous amount of intellectual capital out there with your peer group, so networking with other CIOs or CDOs or CDIOs, both in and outside of healthcare. The more you can network, the more you can kind of tease ideas out, throw it out to a large group and let them, create or critique or provide some constructive criticism as to what you're looking to try to do. And or if things that they have, you also then, that may be something I could kind of bring back to my health system. We haven't done that yet here either. So that networking piece really is key to making sure that, because we don't really compete on technology. What we compete on is how we use the technology. So if people have certain places or certain opportunities they could take advantage of, that really is a game changer for many health systems to have that strong network. And as I mentioned before, the senior team, they're very tech savvy. They don't give themselves all the credit that they are, but they really are. And many of them, I think, have great ideas, and certainly they have their own networks where they can bring things to you as well to help you to evaluate and see if it fits within your ecosystem that you're trying to build for the health system.
Yeah, that's some quality insight there. I appreciate that. You mentioned one thing that, as a marketer in healthcare IT, you know, healthcare IT is 100% relationship driven industry. And if you don't have the relationships, even with your peers, it is a struggle, to really be successful, and it's a struggle to learn, right? Because I mean, my goal in life is to learn something new every day. And if I don't communicate with peers I have in the healthcare IT marketing space, I'm not really accomplishing that goal. So I definitely
Mm-hmm.
have seen that in the industry between, CIOs across health systems and so forth. It's great to see, especially when there's organizations that help facilitate that. And some stuff you said kind of led right into my next question was what makes a successful CIO and how does that impact the organization? So I think we're kind of talking about relationships here now, where really it sounds like other than having the best team available to you that you're building as a leader, is that communication and that partnership across the industry with your peers.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Larry. All the things that we've talked about is what helps make a CIO to be successful. I will say there's a couple of virtues, being calm and cool and collected, because there will be times where there are issues that do occur. And in many cases, from the technology standpoint, those are going to come your way, either from your partners that are having a certain issue or from a security breach or, some other kind of downtime situation. So being calm and cool during those, uh, I guess, incidents that are going to happen really allows you to be able to set the tone for the rest of your team and also for the rest of the health system, that we are all in it together. And when there are certain situations that do require need to dig in deeper in terms of a disaster recovery, that the business continuity can continue under your peers that are delivering the services back to the patients or to the members if you're a health plan. So from my standpoint, I really think kind of bringing all that stuff together from your peers to your partners to building a great team, but also being able to be that general manager or coach to allow things that are going well to be able to continue to enhance and enable that to happen, but also when there are speed bumps on there to be that resource or be that person that people can go to and you can help give them the calmness that they need in order to be able to strive through those situations.
Yeah. And again, one of the things I'm just going to touch on, one of the things that I'm personally, from my perspective, very proud of is I love to mentor people. And I've had
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to do that across the board in marketing. And, you see it in the healthcare industry is that, executive leaders like yourself are committed to, forging that next generation of executive leaders because if that doesn't happen, going back to healthcare being providing care to patients versus technology providing health is that if you don't have that next generation, the care of the patient is going to go
Mm-hmm.
drastically downhill. So it's very important to help do mentor those that future. And I've seen you do that, and just from you touching on that is a big thing. So I think that's interesting. And
Yeah,
again,
thanks, Larry. Yeah, go ahead.
as we've had this conversation, I just want to keep throwing questions at you, but I know you wanted to add something there, so go ahead, please, and add some additional stuff there.
Yeah, you guys can edit however you want to, so it doesn't look uncomfortable. The only thing I was going to say, though, and I was kind of start, you can plug it in there, is the one thing that you brought up, Larry, on the mentoring is so important because as a leader, our responsibility is to grow leaders. One of our responsibilities, and you can, for those that are sports fans, you see that in sports all day long. When you look at the Bill Belichick's or the Nick Sabans, you see a legacy of people that they have grown into other coordinators or head coaches that have come from them being underneath one of their stints as a head coach, and then you see others where that hasn't happened. And I won't name any names, but you'll see where those that are just focused on today, you'll see those that are focused on tomorrow. And I think for all of us that have a seasoned career and have moved through, that our goal is to leave this a better place for those behind us. And part of that is to bring that into those that we can develop and grow. And so leaders growing leaders, I think is at some point in your career will become one of the most important parts of your legacy.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing makes me happier, but also sad at the same time when I have a team member tell me, "Hey, I'm going to resign my role with you, but because of the mentorship that you've given me, I'm moving on to, greater and bigger things to help me achieve my career goals and even be more successful." That puts a smile on my face a mile wide, and then I dread
Yeah,
having to go and find their replacement and start that process all over again. So, definitely, I feel that one for you there.
yeah.
So let's move in. I have just one more question for you, and it probably sums up a little bit of everything that we've been talking about,
Mhm.
and around the lines of choosing the right partners, the right software, the right systems, the right programs, the right platforms. I mean, all of those decisions are made to potentially push an organization forward with innovation and success. But at the same time, if you make the wrong decisions, you could be taking a step back on that path. So if you can kind of give us a kind of a high level overview, I don't want you to give away your secret sauce, but the right high level overview of how you make those decisions and what kind of insights can you provide to our audience on what that decision process looks like.
I think there's several factors, and first and foremost, certainly if you're selecting a partner, they have to be competent. So whether you're looking at Gartner's Magic Quadrant or you're looking at classes rankings, if somebody's in that top 3, 5, whatever the item is that you're looking at, as long as they're up there, they're going to be competent. And what you have to look for next then is, are they a good fit into your organization? Do they fit within the culture? Are they going to be a partner, or are they more about the sales component of it? And that fit is important. And I go back to my early days as a CIO. I always said that if people who I meet, whether they're board members or other senior executives, people from other systems, if they know I'm the CIO, that's the first thing that they know by the way that I am expressing myself, then I fail. Because first and foremost, I'm an executive or a senior executive of that health system. Secondly, I bring a certain tool set, which is the CIO. And I think it's the same thing with a partner. With a partner, they should blend in with your team. It should be very hard for people to know if are they with your badge, or do they have to carry a different badge? Because they're so aligned, they speak exactly what you're looking to accomplish. They know the corporate goals. They know how to behave and how to help you to be able to be successful. And so from that standpoint, like if they look at them, it's just like another person who might be on my team. It's hard for them to distinguish, is that somebody who is an employee or somebody who is a partner of the health system? So very similar to how when you're a senior executive, that you're an executive first. In this case, they are part of our health system first. Then they bring a certain tool set with them with what expertise they're trying to solve for you, but they need to be first and foremost looked at like they're just part of your team. They blend in with your team. They get along with your team. They're part of your culture. They buy into the value system that you've created. From that standpoint, then you can be very successful.
That's good insight, and again, being a relationship driven industry, if you're not a partner first, you never want an organization you're working with to call you a vendor. That's for sure.
Right.
If you're a vendor, you're not a partner and you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be successful there. So that's good insight. I appreciate that. So I think, at this point, I think you've answered all my questions, which is great. So I really appreciate that. Do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off today?
No, the only thing I added are probably 2 points, and you touched on both of them. One is, kind of the leaders, growing leaders, to consider yourself a professional parent. For those that are parents that allow themselves that the biggest pride is when their children kind of outgrow them, which all three of mine have. It's great as a professional as well when those people that you've mentored have outgrown you and they're taking seats that you were qualified for as well. You're just so happy that they're able to go above and beyond what you're able to contribute. And the other piece is that learning component. Once you think you know it all, you might as well hang it up. To learn something new every day. I think learning is one of those things that I call myself a student for life. So I'm always listening and learning and trying to apply what that is to what I'm trying to get accomplished. So I think both of those are things that people should take away from our conversation. And appreciate, Larry, for you taking the time with me.
Thank you, Craig. That does about does it for us today here at Visionary Voices. I'd like to thank my guest, Craig Richardville, today for joining us and talking through the role of the CIO. Definitely learned a lot, and there were some really solid takeaways there. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in into this episode of Visionary Voices, powered by Optimum Healthcare IT. And remember, the future of healthcare starts with a vision. We'll catch you next time on Visionary Voices.